What's up, world? My name is Whitmore Merrick, and I am the creator of the Freedom For Felons Podcast. This podcast is going to be a platform created to inform, educate, and get people together and on the same page, to fight this fight that we're going through with the criminal justice system. We'll have all types of individuals with lived experience to speak on the issues that they see and how we could resolve these issues. So check us out, Freedom for Felons. What's going on? My name is Whitmore Merrick, and I'm your host of the Freedom for Felons podcast. And today, my guest is Eddie Harris. Eddie Harris has been employed for over 13 years at Ready Kids, a local nonprofit where he serves as a parent educator for the Real Dads program. He believes strongly in the lessons of our elders, which shows his values, integrity, and work ethic, the way he strives to live. One of his proudest accomplishments to date is the Vinegar Hill Magazine that he founded and serves as its publisher. His goal is to continue to grow in his process as he supports the community through service and, most of all, to never give up. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Real pleased to be here. Excited about the podcast, something new, something different, and really happy that y'all selected me to be a guest.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. It was very important for me to start with you because through my journey, you definitely inspired me a lot and helped me get started. So I really want the audience to see the value of our relationship over the years, all of the struggle and sacrifice that we put in, to serve the community is a lot. So just definitely want to first give you your flowers for that, man. Appreciate that for being a mentor, a father figure, an entrepreneur, man. It doesn't go unnoticed, for real. So we'll go ahead and start kind of from the beginning to give folks a little better understanding of, how you came involved in the system and, where it started for you, What was your relationship like with your father? And did you ever get to meet your grandfather?
Oh, yeah. I had a great relationship with my father, first of all, but he passed away when I was 10 years old in 1967. And I knew both of my grandfathers, had great relationships with them. One grandfather lived up in the Crozet area in Yancey's Mill. He had a little garden, little farm type situation. And my other grandfather lived on Georgetown Road.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had very good relationships, good and loving relationships with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I asked that, because I know that I grew up without my father in the household, and I know that it'll give the viewers a better understanding of how we dealt with our hardships,
Sure.
and lack of. And I never got to meet my grandfather as well, so it always makes me wonder, how would it have been if I had more influential father figures in my life? How do you think those relationships affected your life then and now, if you could say?
They really affected me in a really good way because even though I didn't always use it, early on I got a real good value set from my family, and it was a core set of values. Like I said, I didn't always practice them, but I had that foundation to come back to, and so it set me up in a way to value relationships, to value people, to value myself, and it all has been a process along the way, but I had that to come back to. Because, when we fall, sometimes we get back up. We still got to have a strong foundation.
Yeah, that foundation definitely is key. Who was the first person that you saw or heard of get incarcerated, and how did that affect you? If you could think of a family member or a friend, or the first time you ever heard of somebody getting locked up.
Way back, man, when I was really young and I didn't really understand what that was all about and everything. It was it was a family friend. My grandfather and this gentleman used to buy pigs together, and one of his sons had gotten incarcerated for, I think, like stealing a chainsaw or something, and I was like, wow, that was my first experience of knowing somebody got locked up, and just the way that I heard people talk about it, it's like, whoa, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of spooky.
How about what was the first time? When was the first time you got incarcerated?
It was like I think it was like 71. I was about 15 years old, and I got incarcerated. I was actually locked up in the old jail, Brown Street Jail.
Brown Street. Where is that located? In Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah, in Charlottesville. It's they call it the jail yard. Now it's where it's right across from
the city yard
McDonald's.
is.
The city yard, right across from McDonald's. It was a jail there, and
I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, and it was really old school, Thankfully, I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time in that jail, but that was my first experience.
Yeah. So, what was it like inside? Like, if I don't know, I know of course all of our viewers haven't been incarcerated,
Sure.
but just kind of like in comparison to what was it much similar to how it is now?
No, this was like so old school. I mean, was control movement to the utmost.
Like what you see in the movies?
Oh man, come on, man. Almost like Marshall Dillon and Festus almost.
Yeah.
But it was really, really old school, and the juveniles, because I was a juvenile, we were on one side, and the male prisoners were on another side. The adult male prisoners.
Wow. Yeah. I always ask that question because when I go back and I think about jail, when I first heard jail or thought of jail, I would think it would you were just locked down in a cell, no TV, no food. I mean food, but
Right.
just slop. You know what I mean? And then when I did first get incarcerated, it wasn't really that. It was there was a lot of different things, rec and privileges and stuff like that I didn't expect to get, and so that experience kind of I don't want to say it led me to come back, but I mean being incarcerated with so many people that from your community that you grew up with, family members and stuff, it almost seems like it's like I'm okay, like I'm, you know what I mean?
Like it's part of the process almost.
It's crazy.
Now my first experience was like what you described. No TV, no nothing, slop for food. You know what I'm saying? And still, even with that wasn't enough to deter me.
Wow.
And it was just heck of experiences along the way. Like you say, it's part of the process. Once you start seeing other folks that's in your community get incarcerated and come back to the community and almost be celebrated.
Yeah. That's the part that I feel like that keeps us feeling like it's okay.
Like it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, definitely. So would you say that the not the system, but like the way that the jails are now, would you say it's better or worse, or pretty much the same, similar?
Well, if I had to like weigh it, I would say it's better in a sense, but in the sense of the results that we're getting, it's still the same. Because the disparity in who's getting locked up, who's getting incarcerated, and the length of the sentences is still centered on black and brown people getting the longer sentences, and over 55% of the people that are locked up are black or brown people,
Definitely. Yeah. What was like one of your first jobs, like after your the last time that you came home, once you had kind of got on the right path, once you have gotten on the right path, what was one of the first jobs that you had, and how was that like transition?
Yeah, I worked at the Waffle House, man. I was a server at the Waffle House, I actually started the job when I was incarcerated on work release, and I continued to work at the Waffle House once I was released from incarceration, and just serving, man, making like $1.74 an hour plus tips. It was really like $1.89, but they took out 35 cents an hour for your meals, whether you ate or not. So
Yeah.
I'm at the Waffle House grinding tables. That's what I had to do.
Most definitely. Um, what were some of your strongest challenges and adversity on your path to resilience, and what was like your best advice for those that may be facing facing the same?
I think challenge wise for me was not to allow myself to become discouraged. Things don't always go the way I planned them, and I had to learn that I had to have a B or a C plan as well. And the biggest advice I can give, man, is like what I stand on is that just don't never give up. Even with adversity seems the worst, I still have like I'm gonna win because I'm not gonna quit. You know.
Most definitely. Um, so, of course, like it's been a long journey. You went from working at Waffle House, and then how did you get started as an entrepreneur?
Well, I had the entrepreneur spirit ever since I was a kid, right? I mean, that's kind of in me in a sense because I have kin people that did the entrepreneurship thing. I had, a lot of my uncles, they were entrepreneurial types, so I saw that and I saw that business. And then being in the community, in the black community, I saw people doing numbers and stuff. And that was a sense of like being your own entrepreneur. And my cousin, Brother James Muhammad Cupcake, he was an entrepreneur, and he was the guy that really got me into it on a serious level.
Definitely a legend.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Cupcake. Yeah. Yeah, that's dope. Just thinking of that transition from that and then going into Ready Kids. How did you get involved with Ready Kids and start your program there?
Well, during my last incarceration at Charlottesville Regional Jail, I was a part of a program, the Locust Therapeutic Community, and we used to have guys come in. One of the guys that came in, his name was Bob Rannigan, and he would come in and talk to us about fatherhood and talk to us about different ways that we can kind of like focus on change and what change should look like and all of that. So as I transitioned out, he said it was an opportunity to work at Ready Kids, and it was about driving a green van, setting up play groups in the communities, And me knowing what my record looked like, I didn't really take it really that serious because I said, I know these people ain't gonna hire me once they see, what my past is looking like. Then I had another community member, Harold Foley Jr. He came to me, and it made it more serious because he know where I come from and know the whole situation and everything. He's like, man, give it a shot. So I just went in. And I was working at it used to be CYFS.
Okay.
And I was working there 12 hours a week initially. Just
And
working on
what were you doing there?
Working on the van, going out in the community, engaging community members, trying to get them to bring their kids to a play group.
Okay.
We were setting up play groups like in West Haven, Mallside, Blue Ridge Commons, different areas, Whitewood Village. We would go set up play groups and trying to get the community to engage and bringing their kids out and being a part of the play group.
Okay. So, what was that your first start with giving back to the community, really, or what would you say was your first?
Well, I think looking at giving back, I looked at myself. I said, well, okay. First, I got to give something to myself, and as I give to me, that will also give to the community. So I had to change the way that I was approaching life, and a lot of that had to do with habits that I formed over the years, So I participated in 12-step programming. So I could get to a place where I was in the community, and I wasn't doing what I used to do. And so I was a walking advocate for staying clean. And I think that was my first real gift to myself as well as to the community. It's like stay clean one day at a time and learn how to do that in the midst of the adversity and the challenges.
Do you feel? Did you feel like that's your passion or your purpose, in a sense?
Well, more so, staying clean as I've grown and evolved. I feel like that's my responsibility. See, because I can't accomplish the things that I want to accomplish in this life if I'm high.
Most definitely.
Because it's going to derail me from setting up what I need to set up as a man. And along my process, what I learned is that, all males are not men. I was a grown-up male, but I wasn't a man.
Yeah.
Because I was looking to be served, and men look to serve.
Wow.
So, and understanding what that meant and what that needs to mean in my life has been a big part of my process. And that's where the real giving back started, as I kept challenging myself. And even though I've been clean for a while, but I still have to challenge myself because it's still about growing and evolving and learning. So, I surround myself with anybody that I can, young, old, new, or whatever. Because I can learn from any and everybody.
And that's important, and one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do this interview with you is to show people how we bridge the gap between the generations. Your son is my friend, you know what I mean, one of my best friends. So at the end of the day, for us to have the relationship that we have is genuine, and also it's just definitely important for people to see.
That's so valuable, and I'm learning to be intentional with that, because one thing that we don't have now that's really valuable to us as a community is that we're not linking the generations together. We're not the only generation that got wisdom. I get wisdom from, that's why I interact with the young dudes, because definitely. I get wisdom. And also they have energy, and new ideas. So in order for me to stay fresh, I got to be around fresh.
Most definitely.
And I think that's where we're missing out on a great opportunity. Just briefly speaking, you notice me and Sarad is my partner with Vinegar Hill Magazine. We're from different generations. I'm from his parents' generation. But it's valuable for us to work together and to show that it works when we work together, older and younger.
Definitely, man. Yeah. So just to touch on how our relationship grew a little bit more when we were talking about Ready Kids, and let's speak on your program that they allowed you to build within Ready Kids, the Real Dads program.
Well, as I was transitioning, I was driving the van, and it came to my attention that they were trying to establish a father program, but they didn't want to do something that was already going on. So, we took a little time to study, and it came about with me, my supervisor at that time, the executive director Jackie Bryant, and with some help from who was on council then, because they really wanted a fatherhood program to support fathers that don't really get the support. So came up with the idea, to support fathers in the community, but who's supporting the fathers that are incarcerated? We didn't really see anybody doing that. So, I'm saying like, I go over to the jail, and that's how the group started at the jail. Well, the group actually started at the jail because of you. You know what I'm saying? But I was going to the jail, seeing guys individually. I was going to see you and two other gentlemen, and it was working like that. But I was taking like 3 hours, because I would see each of y'all for like an hour. And you made the suggestion, say, man, we probably could get more out of a group. We could feed off of each other, and we could be more directed. So I took it to the staff at the jail, and they okayed it. So that's how that group formed at the jail, and we just been kind of like, adding to the program, adding stuff to it as the years that went by. That's why I'm glad that it was a program that wasn't already. We formed it, and we still forming it as we go. You know.
Yeah, man. Just to touch on that, just to give the viewers a understanding of how much that did for us. I mean, to be taken out of a cell block, to be able to go in a room with someone that's informing you of, yourself. You brought a lot of stuff to teach us about ourselves and to reflect on, and about the culture and the history, the hidden colors. It was, priceless. You planted that seed in me, and, it definitely just gave me that spirit of giving back. Sure. Like hurt people, but people that have been help other people. That's right. You know what I mean? Exactly. So yeah, man, that was a blessing. I mean, not only that, taking us out of there, being able to provide gifts for the kids and, checking in and calling and doing all kinds of things for the family, man. It was so much needed, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so that people definitely need to know about that program because it's awesome.
Yeah. I have to just tip my hat to the folks at Ready Kids because they have been on board since day one with it, and it wasn't always easy to get the funding for the program, and it still isn't. You know how nonprofits work. It's like year to year most of the time, but for them to be on board the way that they have been on board, it allowed me the freedom to do different things, and to now we before COVID, we had a group where kids were allowed to come in every quarter to be with their father.
Mm.
That's big.
Yeah, that's major.
Yeah, that's big.
That's major.
At that jail. Yeah, it's big.
Yeah. So a little bit more on the Real Dads program. Like Ready Kids, they gave you the flexibility to pretty much like come with all of your own pretty much ideas and stuff like that. And
they provided some structure. Of course you have some boundaries and some structure, but I was right there helping to implement it, and helping to give suggestions that I thought, and the guys at the jail, whether they knew it or not, was helping me along the way too, because I was listening and I was learning, and I was like, oh, okay, so let's try to do this and do that. So that's what helped us to now we have a curriculum for them. We have a 12-session curriculum, so the guys in there can experience it, and then more people can come in and experience it, like 12-week sessions and stuff.
That's cool. Definitely. Shout out to the Real Dads program and Ready Kids. Also, speaking on that, it just shows that, how much the program has done for the community, because myself and others like Martez Tober that has been giving back to the community and, going strong, years strong out here fighting the fight. It's definitely motivating. I just want to ask, this is the Freedom For Felons Podcast, so I just want to ask everybody, like, what does freedom mean to you, and how do you value it opposed to how you did in your past life?
Well, in my past, I always looked at my freedom was something that was held by somebody else. It won't let me, holding me back. And, I'm looking at that like I'm giving somebody else more power than what they actually had. And as I'm evolving and as I continue to grow, I'm looking at I hold the key to my freedom. See, because for a big portion of my life, I was fighting against myself. So the first thing that I encourage, guys to do, and that I try to do in the curriculum for Real Dads is set up, I need to free myself from myself. Because most of the time I was getting in my own way, and I'm shaming and blaming and pointing the finger at folks that, sure, we know certain entities play a part, but the biggest part for me was learning that, hey, I tell you what happened. I was in GL at Albemarle Charlottesville Regional Jail. Yeah. I was in the program, Therapeutic Community. And I looked out in the hallway, and I said to myself, I'm saying, you're freer than you done been in the last 10 or 15. I'm in jail.
Wow.
But I realized the freedom and a peace about myself because I was growing spiritually, I was growing mentally, and you can't hold me. Them bars couldn't hold me. So I learned that freedom, I contain a lot of that. It's different levels to it, and learning to value relationships and what that means. I encourage guys to have a better relationship with themselves so they can have better relationships with the other people that's important in your life. Mm-hmm. The better my relationship gets with me, the better my relationship gets with the mother of my son, with the other people in my life, all relationships, because life is built on those.
Definitely. That's dope. What were some of the books that you've read while you were incarcerated, or after incarceration, that were like the most powerful for you?
I'll tell you, I was at before I went into the TC, a gentleman had shared a book with me, right? And it was by Yana Van Zant, and it was called The Spirit of a Man. That book got me through the therapeutic community because I kept saying, the whole program is in this book, because they were talking about awareness. They were talking about, the power of silence. All these terms and all of these practices are something that I didn't really practice, So it seemed a little foreign, but then when I got in the program, I was like, oh, I see how that fits,
Mm-hmm.
And you learn that you don't have to answer every call, So the spirit of a man, Yana Van Zant probably was the most prevalent, but after that, I'm reading a book now by this dude, DeAndre Whitfield. It's called Male versus Man.
Mm.
And that's kind of like where I dropped that thing about what males want and what men do, what males do and what men do,
What are the 3 top community issues that you see in Charlottesville, or in the States as a whole with the system?
It's
I know that's
it's so much, right? Because everything is so intertwined because the system feeds off the system. But I would say housing, I would say education, and I would say employment opportunities. And people say, "Oh, jobs everywhere," but it's been my experience that a lot of times we promote people getting a job rather than we promote people starting a business.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about freedom for felons and felons getting another opportunity, we can make a law and ban the box, but we can't change the mentality. People may still have the same mindset, say, I just don't feel comfortable hiring him,
Mm-hmm.
But me being a ex-felon, I would hire a felon because I know a lot of times people only need an opportunity,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so I think encouraging entrepreneurship is really big because then we can create the opportunities that we know people need.
Mm. Yeah. Speaking on that, the backgrounds, what are your thoughts or beliefs on expungement and the recent laws that were passed in Virginia for the first time since the 70s?
Well, I know it's been a lot of hard work that a lot of people have put in fighting the expungement fight, and it definitely is an important fight because something can be held over your head or you can be held prisoner by that even after you've done your physical time, even after you've completed your probation or parole time, even after you've paid all your fines and costs of court, you still can be held hostage by the actual crime itself.
Mm.
Because when people look back and they look at who you are and oh wow, look at here,
Yeah.
and a lot of times in a lot of ways it makes people kind of like settle.
Mm.
Man, I ain't gonna do that, man, because I already know if I do some challenging stuff, people gonna look back and say, he ain't nothing but a this or he ain't nothing but a that. Did you know he did this 40 years ago?
That can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask, how do you feel it would affect you now if you were to be able to expunge your record, or do you even think it would help you at this point?
Well, at this point, it would help me to know that other folks don't have to go through what I went through. I've kind of like carved out and been blessed enough and built relationships enough to where I can navigate a bit. And I'm at the retirement type of age and everything. So, but that don't mean that I'm not gonna stop. That I'm gonna stop grinding.
Yeah.
So you know, I think it definitely would help me because it would help me to see our young people and some of our not so young people get opportunities that they've been shying away from.
Yeah, I think that's what's most important. They need to see it, like see, if we done wrong and then you change your life, there is another chance.
Yes.
And not no one or two chance. I mean, some people need a few more than that.
We're the city of second chances, so-called.
Right.
So
yeah,
try to get folks to live up to what they say.
Most definitely. If you could free any 3 people, who would they be and why? And I'm sure I know who one of them people would be.
Well,
For sure.
I would definitely free Rico Harris, right? That's my son. I would free him because I know he has, well, first of all, because he's my son.
Definitely.
And me knowing him as I've known him through his whole life, I know he has a lot to give. He has a lot to share. He has a lot to contribute to our community. So,
Definitely.
I would really love that, of course. And for it to be 3, some political type. I can't even put 3. It's like
you don't have to choose 3, but I just if it
but
was
him
definitely.
exclusively, and you got Mil Jamal, the brother that's been locked up and been on death row all that time. I got my cousin, man, that's been on death row, that's been through he's been locked up for 50 years. I definitely would want to free that brother.
50
but
years.
It's like I couldn't put it on. I can't get 3. But especially those 2 guys.
Most definitely. If you could change 3 things about the prison system or the justice system, what would they be?
If I could change something to do with the justice in the prison system, it probably would be definitely changing the mandatory sentencing.
The mandatory minimum.
Mandatory minimums. I would definitely want the system to take a look at that and how that's destroyed lives more than and the system itself for us, the prison system. We still dealing with a prison system that's over hundreds of years old, and it's based on punishment and not so much rehabilitation. The majority of the people that's locked up are coming back to our community, and if we're not giving them an opportunity to change their behavior while they're incarcerated, what makes me think that as soon as they hit the bricks that their behavior is going to bam, it's going to automatically change by itself. So I think we do ourselves a disservice by not giving folks more rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. Of course, you don't supposed to reward people for bad behavior, but let's help them to change that behavior. And I don't think we're doing such a great job of that.
Yeah, definitely. How do you feel about reentry? Do you feel that there is reentry really here? Because my short battle in the system for the last few years, working with Home to Hope, we're really the only reentry out here. You know what I mean? There are some programs and stuff like that, but it just doesn't seem like it's enough. No. Yeah. Yes. What are your thoughts on the reentry though? What could we do to help?
I thought for me, Home to Hope was a breath of fresh air. Still is a breath of fresh air. And I was really encouraged when the mayor had decided to even take a look at something like that. And the way that it was formulated, using folks that come from that walk of life, that know what the challenges are, to deal with people that's going through the challenges. I think that's really big. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, we should grow on that model, because I see the model working in a way, and hopefully the folks that's working with the model will be able to implement changes within the model. Say, hey, have we ever looked at doing it this way? That was the value of Real Dads, because I get an opportunity to say that, and I think it would be valuable if the participants or the workers for Home to Hope would say, hey, what happened if we would do this? This would try to, instead of folks that we still got people that have not been touched in certain ways by this life, making decisions on how to implement the services. And I think to a certain degree that gets in the way.
Most definitely. Let's see. What is the importance of leaving a legacy to you, and how did you begin laying your foundation when it was all a dream?
Well, that's big as
That's
a mug.
deep.
Yeah, that's deep. It goes back. My foundation goes back to when you were talking about my grandparents and all of that, and I saw how they conducted themselves. And when I was seeing it, it didn't have the effect that it has on me now, because it was about more than them. It was about more than them just having a better life. It was about setting it up for your children, setting it up for the next couple generations. And so with me, if I want to live on, if I say I'm going to live forever, I'm going to have to live through somebody, So I'm going to live through my son. So, I'm going to live forever as long as he lives and he has kids, So it's what I'm all about right now. And it's not just confined to my bloodline. It's about all children. We have to start looking at all children as being our own, and that's why the value of community is so important. So families are the cornerstone of a neighborhood. Neighborhoods are the cornerstones of communities, and communities are what makes change. So when they destroy the family,
they say it take a village. It still takes a village.
Still takes a village. Yeah.
Most definitely. So let's talk about Vinegar Hill,
Okay.
and how that got started, and because that's definitely a legacy. So yeah.
Well, what really happened with coming to the magazine? Actually, I had a thought about a magazine when I was incarcerated, but it wasn't this type of magazine. I just had a thought, and I probably had been thinking about doing something with that type of a thing for probably years, right? But what made it come into reality was I got out, and I was trying to, be available in the community. One of my peers, a young lady, Miss Dee Dee Gilmore, she was confronting the Hook about some articles that they had written about black men on Main Street. So in support of her, me and a friend of mine went down and we were outside the Hook, with the signs and everything. And I was telling my friend, I was like, you know what, man, this is real. If I don't like what they writing, we need to write it ourselves, So that was the actual start, and it actually started with like 2 sheets of paper.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's came a long way. I remember when you used to send it by the email to digital.
Yeah.
And now to see the beautiful display, man, it's amazing, man. Congratulations.
Yeah. And the name Vinegar Hill is like, it's not because I lived in Vinegar Hill. Vinegar Hill for us is a mindset. It's a do for self mindset. It's more of a responsibility than it is anything else. Like, what would the entrepreneurs of Vinegar Hill be doing today, if they were still around? So that's where the responsibility part comes in. And every black community across the United States had a Vinegar Hill. In Tulsa, they called it Black Wall Street. In Florida, they called it Rosewood. Even in Wilmington, North Carolina, they had wherever we gathered, we had our own businesses. We formulated and we looked out for each other because that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
So Vinegar Hill is like our Black Wall Street.
Most definitely. Yeah, that's dope, man. What are some of your future goals?
Well,
with Vinegar Hill or just in
in
your
general,
personal life?
you know, what I want to do with the magazine opportunity, the business opportunity, and in my personal life is to be what we talked about earlier, and that's that connector with the generations, to be that bridge, you know, to be a part of that. I want to be not the answer, but I would love to be a part of the solution process, you know, that's because, you know, go back to, you know, you were saying about yourself and my son and my son being friends, you know, and it's like I buy into that because, you know, that's how we push this thing forward. You know, we have to look at each other as more than just, oh, I know him or I know her or whatever. You know, I want to try to set it up to where it's a foundation laid to where all our kids get an opportunity that they wouldn't have. I think that's my responsibility, you know.
Yeah. Dope. Who are some of your most influential leaders or local mentors that you might want to shout out?
Well, you know, I like Alexander's work a lot. I like his work. You know, I've been knowing him since I was a lot younger, and the way that, you know, the way that he's taking things off. You know, my inspiration comes from people like Whitmore Merritt, people like, you know, Chris Johnson, you know, people that I know that have taken the opportunities that they have and made the most out of them. See, that freedom that you talk about is holding our creativity back. When we're not free, we're not creative. But once we get that air of freedom, we get real creative, man, and we are very creative people, and that's where we need to be at. We need to be creating opportunities for ourselves, you know. So I get my inspiration from young guys. I get it from older guys, Mr. Eugene Williams, different people in the community, man. It's like it's too many for me to even try to name because I'll leave somebody out. But I get inspiration from all sorts of people, man, you know.
Yeah.
People that show up, and they show up because they want to, not because they got to, you know.
Exactly.
And, a lot of my exes, I get inspiration from them, you know, because I'm saying, like, you show up and do stuff because you want to, not necessarily because you got to, you know. So learning the value of being a man and a man's responsibility is big.
Most definitely.
You know.
Is there anything else that you would like to, you know, leave with the viewers before we head out?
Just that I appreciate the opportunity, man, of being able to share some thoughts, to be a part of Freedom For Felons Podcast, and to take this opportunity to kind of share about what's been going on with me, what we hope to go on in the future, and just to say thanks.
Most definitely. Well, we definitely appreciate you and hope to have you back again, man. Sure. Thank you. Peace.
Good.
Yep. That's good.